Welcome back to the Pearl Report. Some of the land that has sat underused in Hong Kong for years is now being looked at by government for its development potential. But that doesn't include military land. That stays officially off limits.
Travel through the new territories, and it's easy to see brownfield sites.
That means those degraded land, those sites in the rural area, which originally should be farmland, but maybe used for now open storage and container yards.
Groups like Local Research Community have been urging the government for years to use this or any other type of land that has lost its ecological value and avoid compromising marine environment through reclamation. And it appears to be happening. The Housing Authority is conducting a feasibility study on putting public housing here at Wong Chau, north of Long Ping Estate in Yuen Long. The site is 34 hectares. It would yield about 17,000 flats to house some 52,000 people.
Very clear that it's for building public rental housing. Most probably, although the government hasn't announced that they may do land resumption, need to do acquisition from the private owners because most of the area in this site is private land.
The Housing Authority would not tell us how it plans to acquire the land. It could use the Land Resumption Ordinance so long as the land is resumed for a public purpose. Public housing would be a fit.
If the government intends to do land resumption itself, at least it ensures that the future developments for the public purpose, for the public benefits.
In July, after years of planning and revisions, the government announced it would move forward on assembling land for a new development area in the Northeast New Territories. In the final stages, the ratio of public to private flats was raised to 60-40. The population has been revised upward from 134,000 to 175,000.
I've made this submission because I was one of the town planners originally involved in planning Tin Soi Wai.
Ian Brownlee now has a planning consultancy. He says the government is missing a chance to add even more units in the Northeast New Territories by limiting the plot ratio of private housing to somewhere between 2 and 3, lower than private housing density in new towns built earlier, like Sha Tin.
Now, there's no reason why you can't go to the Sha Tin standard of 5. If you just change the plot ratio from 2.53 to 5, you can accommodate another 12,000 households. You can increase, without any extra effort really, the population by about 30,000.
Local Research Community says the same thing is happening at the Kai Tak site. The population here is supposed to be about 90,000. After new laws were passed banning reclamation in Victoria Harbour, the target to house some 200,000 in Kai Tak was scaled back.
We propose 2 more on the opposite side of this Kai Tak area.
Local Research Community says 2 more public housing estates can be added to accommodate another 30,000 people.
So as you can see here, this is the 2 and only 2 public rental housing estates originally being planned in Kai Tak area. And actually, they only occupied less than 4% of the whole Kai Tak area. We suggest this may simply be double. We consult some of the different kind of professionals like the planners, architects, to see where can we locate this new population. It is only a very slight reconfiguration because we only moved the sports complex maybe for 200 meters.
Those ideas were submitted in an application to the Town Planning Board in April.
Before we submit the formal proposal, of course, we consult the different government bureaus and departments. I don't think that they have strong opposition at that time. But once we submit the formal proposal, I think the government tried to unite their wheels.
Now, there's no more talking.
They no longer willing to discuss with us any alternatives. They insist on the original proposal.
Much of Hong Kong was built on reclaimed land.
Pun Tong, Tsuen Wan, and then Sha Tin, Tin Shui Wai. Zhang Bei, that's Chong Kun O, Tuen Mun, Taipo, even Tong Chong involve substantial reclamation.
The government has completed a two-stage consultation on reclaiming land at 5 places outside Victoria Harbour. Hong Kong U professor Lawrence Lai, a former government planner, says it's not enough to address a land shortage.
No, not far enough. They are stopgap measures.
Or allow for future planning.
I can guess that the purpose for them is to build housing. But how about offices, future town centre?
Scratch conventional reclamation, he says, because the environmental cost is too high.
Cyclone area, do you want to destroy that? Total Harbour, the government want to reclaim some land there. To me, that is not a very good idea. Better save the different material for building a big island elsewhere to save that part of Hong Kong.
The government has only suggested creating artificial islands in waters just west of Hong Kong Island. Lai says, make them big.
If you talk about planning for the next 30 years, the bigger the better.
There is prime land in Hong Kong that, by outward appearances, is hardly used. It belongs to the People's Liberation Army. It includes this site, the Kowloon East Barracks in Kowloon Tong, former family quarters for the British garrison.
But now, family members of the PLA that do not reside in Hong Kong anymore. So why should they need such a large piece of quarter for?
The site is close to 2 universities.
We could have these pieces of land turned into the land for higher education to be used by both Hong Kong Baptist University and Hong Kong City University. And both of them are very crowded and in need of space.
Some of the British military land here went back to the Hong Kong government after the handover. The rest was transferred to the PLA under a 1994 agreement called the Exchange of Notes. There is a provision for land not used by the Hong Kong garrison to revert to the SAR.
If a site used by the garrison is no longer needed for defense purposes, it shall be handed over, without compensation to the government of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region for disposal.
The former quarter at the Shek Kong area is very huge. There are buildings on the site already, some the 3 to 5 stories building. When the indigenous people get removed out of their home because of the development of the northeastern New Territory, there is a place to resettle them immediately.
Now that we are 16 years after the handover, there wouldn't be such a loss of face for China to admit that it doesn't really need as much of the land as it inherited from the British for the PLA in Hong Kong. They're practically invisible.
At LegCo a few weeks ago, the government said it would not ask for the return of any military land.
All existing military sites are currently used for defense purposes and none is left idle. The Hong Kong SLG has no plan to seek any change to the use of these sites. Utilization rate, whether it's low or high, I think that would be a subjective view. Maybe when you pass a military site, you don't see a lot of people coming and going. Maybe that gives you that impression.
A site that gets special attention is the Gun Club Hill Barracks in Tsim Sha Tsui near Gascoigne Road. It houses the United Services Recreation Club.
The operation of the United Services Recreation Club is not any different than that before the reunification. That's why we believe it is in compliance with the requirements of the Exchange of Notes. There's no departure.
A special section in the note says,
the United Services Recreation Club will continue to enjoy the use of all the facilities on the same terms as at present. Its membership will remain open to civilians.
And the PLA doesn't use it.
I understand that after the reunification, the Hong Kong garrison and their family members so far have not used the facilities at the club.
The club's annual report acknowledges an unusual arrangement.
Despite the absence of any formal agreement between the club and the PLA garrison, the General Committee members are of the opinion that the lease, as well as the current operations of the club, will continue for the foreseeable future.
They're almost squatting on PLA land with a sort of nod and wink that no one's going to question that. The PLA isn't asking for it back, and they're not asking for a formal tenancy agreement.
Right now, the club is advertising wedding banquet services to the public sector, which is so far off from defense purposes. It is only right for the Hong Kong government to discuss the matter with the central government immediately.
Well, thank you for watching our show. It will be re-aired on Tuesday and Saturday, as well as on tvb.com. Until next time, from the Pearl Report team, good night, good luck, and good health.